Hi guys, Mindy Sunshine here from Orcas Island Leather Goods, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make our new mini bifold kit. It's a really nice little wallet that has the general footprint of a smaller minimal wallet, yet has a lot of functionality on the inside. There are 3 card pockets, a deeper pocket in the back where you could stash cash or anything you want in there. So let me rewind and show you how I put this one together. First, let's take a look at what comes in your kit. You have your outside piece of leather. I'm stitching this one in cognac. And then you have 6 pieces for your inside card pockets. Here I'm going to be using the color ink. And you're going to get plenty of thread and 2 needles. And that's everything you need to finish the kit, other than at home you're going to need something to cut your thread ends with, and a way to finish your thread ends. You'll just need a little bit of heat. I'm going to be using this little thread zapper, but you can absolutely use any kind of lighter to do the same. Okay, let's get started. The inside pieces of leather have what's called a pull-up effect. So what I like to do before I stitch them is I give them a scrunch, and that will give the colors of the leather just a little bit more character, a little marbling, and it makes it really fun. This whole project is only 4 stitch lines. So the first stitch line we're going to start with are these 4 little holes here. So that's going to be 1, 2, then we're going to connect the card pockets. Let's see if I can show you like this, and same on the other side. And so it's going to be stitch line 3, stitch line 4, and that's all. If you're brand new to saddle stitching and you've never done one of our kits before, you may want to head over to our how to hand stitch video, which will show you the steps for saddle stitching in a little bit more detail. But for now, I'll just give you a quick reminder. What we're going to do is we are going to get a length of thread. Now for a really short stitch line, we don't need that much thread. I probably have about 12 to 15 inches here to get started. And we're going to thread our needles. So I'm just making sure that the point of that thread is kind of nice and flat so I can easily, let's see how easily, guide it through the point of my needle, sorry, the eye of my needle. And so once we go through the eye of the needle, we turn the pointy side of the needle towards the tail of your thread and we pierce it through. See, like that? Then I hold the pointy side and I take this little tail that I just made here and I pull it over the eye of the needle and then cinch it tight. And that's how we thread our needles. If you ever have trouble getting your needle through, maybe your thread gets a little bit frayed, what can help is you just cut a fresh end, and I'll take the needle and just drag it along. So I'm using the wax on this flat waxy thread to make the end just a little bit pointier. Now for many people, their first time completing a kit, I hear that threading the needles is the trickiest part. But don't worry, with a little practice, you're going to do great. Okay, now that we have a needle on each end of our thread, we're ready to saddle stitch. I'm going to line up those 4 holes, put a needle through one of the ones at the end, and to saddle, and then I'm making so the thread is even on both sides. Top needle goes through first. Hold that thread back and out of the way so that your second needle can go through the same hole. And that's a saddle stitch. And I'm just going to repeat that to the end of the stitch line. Top needle goes through first, hold it back out of the way, and the back needle goes in next. Okay, so I've reached the end of my stitch line, and the next step is back stitching. So we're going to actually just go right back over these same stitches, and that's what's going to help lock them in place and make sure that they never come out. So going backwards, just top needle first, back over, back needle through that same hole. And when we back stitch, we normally do 2.5 stitches. So I'm at 1.5. Now I'm at 2 stitches. So you can see I have thread on each side. And so that final half stitch just means that my top needle goes through only. And that way both my thread ends are on the back side. I'm going to clip these. Let's see if I can melt them with this lighter so I can show you what that looks like. See if I have enough lighter fluid in here. So you're not putting the flame, we don't really want it to catch on fire. We're just using the heat of the lighter just to melt that thread end. And it creates basically like tiny pinheads so that the thread can't pull back out through those holes. So now we have these 2 card pockets are connected, and we have 2 more stitch lines to go. So since this is the outside of our wallet, we're going to turn it over and be connecting these card pockets on the inside. So you can see that right up here, there's a half hole. Can you see that one? So there's a half hole on each side, and those half holes do not line up with this leather. So you're going to line up the first full hole. Let's see if I can show that. There we go. The first full hole with these 2 pieces of leather, and this half hole is going to be on its own. We're going to start stitching in the half hole, go down through these pieces. Once we reach this hole right here, we're going to add in this piece of leather. So it's going to be this same 1 stitch line all the way around, back up to this half hole on this side. To measure our thread line, we're going to measure from half hole to the other half hole, and then we're going to do 4 to 5 times this length. It's always better to have a little bit more versus not enough. So here I've got 4 times the length of the stitch line, and I'm just going to cut a little extra. To get this old thread off my needles, I just cut the knot near the eye of the needle. And so I'm going to thread my needles again, 1 on each side. Start in the half hole. And even out your thread lengths. Take one of the sets. They're interchangeable. And so when you start saddle stitching here, you have to decide which is your top side and which is your bottom side. I like to think of the outside of my wallet as the top side, and that's where I want my most attractive stitches. So I'm going to consider that that's going to be where I'm going to have the first needle go in first each time. So this will be my first needle going through both layers of leather. And this is my inside, or we could call it the backside needle. And it's going to, I'm going to pull this thread a little out of the way to make sure I don't pierce it. And it's going to go through the exact same hole. So now we have our first saddle stitch, and it's connecting from the half hole into the top hole on your first card pocket. And we just repeat. Top needle first. I hold that thread back and out of the way to make room for my second needle to go through. And of course, pull tight after each. And of course, pull tight after each stitch. So now our third stitch here starts connecting this second card pocket. Fourth stitch. And we're ready to add in our bottom card pocket. So it just lines up with the very next hole. Holding that in place, your top or outside needle goes through first. Make sure it goes through both layers of leather. Get a thread that's a little bit twisted. I don't know if you can see, but this thread is a little twisted. Sometimes I'll just use my needle to pick it up, untwist it a little bit, and pull it back down. Just let those stitches lay nice and flat and look as beautiful as possible. Always checking my back side, making sure that I haven't skipped any holes. And I just keep on stitching all the way around to the other side. Okay, so I'm stitching around here, and I just wanted to stop for a moment and show you one little thing to make sure you're always checking both sides, because if I just kept going here, what you can see happened is my card pockets started kind of slipping up. So you just always want to make sure you're looking at both sides and make sure that everything stays aligned while you're stitching. So now we've gone all the way up to the half hole, and we're going to back stitch 2.5 stitches. When you're back stitching, you don't have to worry anymore about whether you pierce the thread. Actually, any piercing that happens at this stage will simply help to lock your stitches in, so you don't have to worry about it at all. So that's 1.5. It's 2 back stitches, and I'm going to do another half because I want to finish these thread ends on the inside of my wallet. So we have half our wallet done. It's the back side. And now we're simply going to add the card pockets on this side, following the exact same process. Line up these directly below the half holes, start in the half hole, stitch till it's time to add this pocket, keep going around, and back stitch. Since this is going to be the front of your wallet, that's why I'm doing this stitch line last. And that way you've had the practice of the 3 previous stitch lines to get your best possible stitches on the front of your wallet. All right, there you have it. Mini bifold kit all sewn up. All that's left is to fold it. So what you want to do is line up your edges nice and straight on all 4 sides and press down nice and hard on this crease. And what you're doing is you're teaching the leather. You're giving it a little bit of a memory of where you'd like it to bend. And the more that you give it pressure there, the flatter it'll lay over time. I hope you've enjoyed making this mini bifold today. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out for help. We're always happy to provide any assistance you need. You can email us, mindy@orcasislandleather.com, or reach out to us through our website or Facebook, and we'll be happy to help. Thanks so much. From our family to yours, happy making.